And welcome everybody to the Between Two Wheels podcast. Look, we have more World Tour racing going on in France. Crash Fest at the Étoile des Bessèges. I don't speak French. The UCI, they plan to ban the SuperTuck, putting their efforts exactly where we need it. Sock lengths, SuperTucks. Let's talk about crashes. The Aussies, they get a national champ or two. Some things that make you go, the ride of the week. And people, we are one YouTube subscriber away from 300. It could be you. Let's talk about the YouTube thing. So look, like I told you, we have 299 subscribers on YouTube. Just go over there. If you're hearing this, just subscribe to our Between Two Wheels podcast. It helps us. Make a little comment on that. That all helps that algorithm stuff. Next thing you know, you're going to be down a rabbit hole of all kinds of cycling, weird stuff on YouTube that it has to handle. Join us. That's where we're doing a lot of our stuff. We also put this out on Facebook. Sometimes when we live stream it, we go out on Twitter. Look, today, February 7th, 2021, Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 222. I am Tyler Janke, your host, and we are Super Bowl Sunday, sports ball day. We'll get into that. I've requested one of our first co-hosts here, Curt Mills, who seemed to have dropped off the face of the earth, especially with this show, to call in today. I'm seeing a feel, and he hasn't responded. He sent me a tweet. Something about the Super Bowl, Gronkowski, and cycling. And I thought we'd mix all those in. Maybe he can read it to us. Likely? I don't know. Okay, so why don't we go straight to France and talk about a little bit of the racing that's happened over there. So this has been on Flow Bikes, and I'm a little disappointed with them because they're just throwing out the French feed, which is fine, but they're not doing any commentary themselves. You can get someone like me, some Joe Schmo, that would be willing to do it, and probably better than just, because I don't understand French, so it's just a lot of that, and it's kind of somewhat boring. So all you're really able to do is see the results from that. And look, so anyway, Flow Bikes is doing this. It's a 5-day stage race, 2.1 UCI. Everyone's excited about it. Why? Because racing is not happening anywhere else. So why not? Stage 1, we had Christophe Laporte from Cofidis. They won the race over the former teammate Nasser Bahani of Arkea Samsic, Mats Pedersen, Giancarlo Comonizolo, Mikowski, Kalkard was in there. I think it was a little bit of a break. Van Poppel down in 10th there. So the results of the day end up being the same as the GC on that stage, and so Laporte's in the yellow, and you see him holding on to yellow for a few days here. The next day, very different outcome. You had, this was the wreck stage, and there was, coming into like that last 8K or so, there was a big wreck, 15K maybe around there, and then you had in the last 1 kilometer a big roundabout, and there was a wreck there as well. We end up seeing Awanti go. I think it was the rider is Timothy Dupont. No, it was a Bingo WB team over Pierre Barbier of Delco, and then Nizzolo of Quebec. Anyways, Nasser Bahani. So you had a little bit of a diminished field going on there because they had this wreck. They had this roundabout. They come in there. It's like in the last 1 kilometer, and they split it on both sides. And it was amazing to see for a few reasons. One is, if you really focus in, well, let's go back to the wreck before that, because that was guys pushing and shoving, trying to get in good position there, and you had riders leaning on each other. Next thing you know, that lean causes a chain reaction. You have a guy going down on the right-hand side. You had an Ineos guy clipping another guy. It looks like maybe his teammate, and he does an endo. Ooh, looked pretty bad. But anyway, you come into the end, you have this roundabout within the last 1 kilometer for the sprint finish, and the teams are split in both sides. What's interesting about the wreck is a guy just about 3rd place from the front on the left-hand side of this just slides out and goes down. So there's somewhat of a reaction, and guys trying to miss him. And you had Mats Pedersen. So as this thing comes to the roundabout is coming to the pinch point to start to collect, the two groups from the right and the left, Mats Pedersen somehow gets jettisoned from the left-hand side of this wreck straight over almost like 50-degree angle to the oncoming right-hand side, and he blows right through them. He doesn't go down, but I think someone clipped him. There's a wreck in there, and it looked ugly. And so we'll talk about this with the UCI and all their issues of what they have. but a roundabout in the sprint finish is fine. SuperTuck, bad. Kind of blowing all the giving you the sneak peek of what we're going to discuss here later. Anyway, so that you had no change in the overall going into that one. Stage 3 was Tim Wellens gets off the front, and that one was interesting for the fact that they go over this little pitchy climb. He's in a brake group, and as he's going down, he just looks like he's not using his brakes. And by not using his brakes, he ends up getting away and then solos. He can time trial pretty well, as we'll see the stage today. He does fairly well. The race ends in a time trial, 16 minutes or so for the winner. 15 minutes, I think, actually, right around the flat time of 15 minutes was for the winner there. Anyway, Tim Wellens, the chase group, we have Edward Toynes missing out, Truck Sigafredo, Mads Schmidt of Israel Startup Nation, Greg Van Avermaet of the AG2R Citroën team, Philip Gilbert back with the Lotto Soudal, Cyril Barth, Niels Pollitt, Jake Stewart, Michael Gogol, and Kwiatkowski in 10th place. Kwiatkowski is moving himself up. Wellens goes into the lead with Toons, Schmidt, Kwiatkowski, Gilbert, Stewart, Van Avermaet, Gogol, Barth, and Oldani as your top 10 there. Not going to read all of them next, but you had stage 4 yesterday. It was a little bit of a great break off the front, a few K in, and you had 2 Total Direct. Is it Total Direct Energy or is it the Thirsty Bear team? Anyway, Total Direct, it was hard to tell with the kits. So you had Total Direct Energy, you had Ganna, Filippo Ganna of the Ineos team. You had a rider there for EF Education, Nippo team. And Ganna takes a turn to the front. And when he takes his pole on the front, he just keeps pedaling really hard. And you had the Thirsty Bear, Direct Energy rider. I'm sorry, I'm still confused as to which team that is. Basically in a full sprint trying to catch him. Now Ganna doesn't attack, he just pedals really hard as he's wont to do, and it's flat and they can't pull him back, and the whole field ends up catching that group of like 6 or so before the finish. There's a little windy pitch there, but Ganna just puts on the turbo, and as we'll see today in the time trial, spoiler, the whole field can't really. He reminds me of Chloe Dygart in this case back in the Colorado Cycling Classic when they used to put that on for women in Colorado. She just rode away. So Ganna ends up winning it. Wellens retains the overall GC lead. Is like 30-some seconds back. So we go into today. There's a time trial. You know what? I'm loving these kind of time trials where the first 2/3 of it are flat and you let the TT guys go up, and then they has a pitch. It's reminiscent of the Planche de Belfi time trial from last year. I think we had a stage time trial similar to that in the Vuelta. So I'm loving these where they're a little shorter, but they give a kick. So the power riders are there. Look, and Ganna just goes out and destroys everybody. People are coming in minutes behind him. I think his gap over the second place person was 30-some seconds. Wellens ends up 3rd place on the stage. He ends up getting the overall fairly convincing and easily over the rest of the field. And Ganna, though, puts in another, the current world time trial champion puts in an extraordinary effort, reminiscent of what he was doing there in the Vuelta, the Giro there last year, winning 3 stages, I believe, some climbing stages, some time trials, the whole kit and caboodle. He also had a great showing last year, if you remember, from the Tour San Juan down there in Argentina or Chile, one of those two. And so pretty stellar from him. But like I said, I'm loving how these time trials are kind of given a pitch finish there. You get a little climb. Saw guys come over the Van Avermaet, looked like he was just couldn't breathe. Ganna looked pretty solid. You had Kwiatkowski looking okay. Tim Wellens put in a good effort as well. So anyway, loving those kind of time trials. So we have Tim Wellens ends up winning the stage race, the 5-day stage race. No real big climbing, as you can tell, because Tim Wellens, while he can go uphill okay. And by the way, we're seeing that with Ganna. I'm very, very interested to see what Ganna can do. Like I said, he was able to hold on to some climbing last year, and he can do that. He did that in the Giro, did that in the Tour San Juan, and the dude can lay it down in the time trials. I don't think he'll ever be a Tom Dumoulin where he can end up climbing with the best of them, but it'll be interesting to see kind of where he goes. I mean, the dude is just way too big. But we're also reminiscent today of, a reason why I'm going to be missing Tom Dumoulin. He's the only kind of person that might be able to put in at this stage, Tony Rominger, some of these other guys that are getting a little older, long in the tooth for time trialing. They're kind of waning here. Tom Dumoulin, he was always one, former world champ, that can put it down. So missing him for that respect. I did see that, you know, Tom Dumoulin, in case you didn't have been in a bubble here for a while, he has decided to take a break from cycling. We don't know if this is going to be a permanent break or whatnot. And, you know, some teammates coming out. I just saw George Bennett, his teammate, saying, hey, you know, all the best. Is really a good thing. Is it, George? Is there a little bit of you being able to push? I'm totally kidding. But it, you know, he's supporting him. But it also does highlight the fact that there's people waiting and that are more than willing to fill the role. George Bennett has been one. Maybe get a little bit more prominent role and see what he can do in the big races. We shall see. SuperTuck. Okay. I don't know what to say about this. It's just, in all and I've avoided listening to other podcasts. I've really avoided reading actually somewhat about it because I don't really want to, I kind of want my own take. I will pull up a news story and give a little look at it just to kind of walk through for our purposes here and see if there's any reasoning that we can be had for why the UCI is even doing this. And, you know, it seems like the biggest reason they're giving is setting an example for the young ones. Really? Okay, and I think that might be the dumbest approach going on here. So oddly, though, if you want to steer my little story, this last week I decided that I was going to take a shot at learning the SuperTuck, and then as we have, it's becoming illegal. UCI aims to stamp out SuperTuck descending as part of broad safety majors. Now, look, I will say my primary reason for finally doing it is. It's a weight issue. And what I mean by that is I'm not like that 145 that I used to be when I was really racing back in the 90s. I'm a little heavier now, and I seem to have got a bit of a neck fat going on, okay? So when I get down on the top tube and I'm on the handlebars, I'm really scrunched in for my thing, and I'm trying to look up. And we do some of the descents every week, the same ones, and you're going flat out. I have trouble actually viewing the road from that tuck position, and it's dangerous in that sense. What am I going to do? Look down? I'm not going to be in the tuck. So I'm like, oh, let's try the SuperTuck, which actually get down in there and snug in there a little bit. And to me, it seemed actually a little bit more safe in that respect. Now, our good friend Curt Mills has broken the top tube of his BMC. I've got it hanging up right over there. That from his big heavy undercarriage, I don't know which part of that undercarriage broke the frame. So I get that, okay? Then there's just the fact of like you're down in that position, getting up and back, maybe you're gonna catch your buttocks on the seat. Maybe they say that you can't descend as safely in that position. Are we seeing though in the pro peloton, while we're seeing these people do it, are we seeing in the pro peloton massive pileups due to the SuperTuck? I don't know that we've seen any. I know we've seen some of these guys, these riders. This, you know, Gibert's one a few years ago. I know Mark Hershey. They've had, you know, falls and look at the amazing descending they're doing, and then they crash out. That happens. I mean, some of the descents these guys take in good and bad weather are harrowing as it is. Are we outlining that kind of just riding in general in packs? I mean, we have stage races and everything else here. You know, well, we used to do racing in the U.S. And when we did, we have precarious road surfaces sometimes. You know, they'll send us out on gravel. They'll send us down, you know, steep hills, tight corners, all these kind of things. So are we outlining just that? You know, maybe we're getting into a society now. I know this is a taboo subject where everyone can't be hurt. So look, there's dangers admitted everywhere. Are the juniors themselves going to, so let's talk about this. UCI looks to stamp out appointment of safety managers, incident monitoring, and risk assessment first in long list of changes. Okay, UCI announced on Thursday the Pro Cycling Council approved a wide range of measures to improve rider safety, an initiative that gained steam after the horrific crash of Fabio Jakobsen in the 2020 Tour of Poland. The measures were approved during a virtual meeting at UCI Management Committee February 2 and 3, the first to apply the World Tour and UCI Women's World Tour events, then be able to be applied progressively to all events in the UCI road calendar. Changes will target race organizers, convoy drivers, helicopter pilots, as well as riders themselves. Most notably, in the latter quarter, the UCI Management Committee opted to apply the current rules against the dangerous conduct of riders to the SuperTuck descending position. Okay. The SuperTuck, I am sorry, it's just, if words mean things, and dangerous conduct of riders is going to be, I'll go down some of these other things. The SuperTuck, where riders hunch down over their chest on the bars and sit on the top tube to gain perceived but possibly not factual aerodynamic advantages on descents, has become so commonplace that the esports platform Zwift incorporated the position in its animation and avatars. Okay. Chris Froome used the SuperTuck. Yeah, we understand that. 2016 Tour. Riders are given warnings from the UCI. This is just, I'm sorry. I think there is a notable advantage to someone that gets in the SuperTuck. The tuck I do is pretty good, but it's not the same. And what I'm actually saying is the SuperTuck, when you're in that position, your ability to be up and viewing the road is actually a better one than the hunch down that they would be that you would be allowed to do. So I actually don't see that that's once again, I don't see that they've pointed out here that there's been dangers in the actual use of that SuperTuck. Long-term UCI plans to have better supervision of team equipment, such as disc brakes and bottle cages. An errant bottle was jarred out of a cage during the 2020 Giro, caused Geraint Thomas to crash and sustained a pelvic fracture. Okay, that's totally true. After 2020, in which UCI invested a great deal of successfully ensured to staging the maximum major events despite the COVID-19 pandemic, it will continue to follow the evolution of the situation of all stakeholders and adapt its majors, notably to health protocols, to ensure the season 2021 runs as smoothly as possible. All right, so I'll get back to this here. There are examples. So there was a big issue. They said, hey, look, we're really, some of the arguments and opinions there are they're doing this to, because like I said, there's really no, they pointed out a bottle, they pointed out the Jakobsen wreck. They didn't point out in the article any issues with the SuperTuck causing crashes. Okay, so there could be some out there, very well could be, but you know, you could be in any kind of position. You can be sitting on your bike as normal, which, you know, I was just watching last night. They had Astana has a documentary kind of about their last year racing. You know, Jumbo's done that. Movie Stars did the whole Netflix series, but this one was just Astana. It was like 30, 40 minutes, and I was about halfway through, and I had other things to do, so I'll get back to it. But it's pretty good, and they showed the Giro. And there is Miguel Angel Lopez, Superman, in the time trial, going down the main road, going down the main road on the time trial. He hits a bump, his arms are missituated on the arrow and the regular bar, hits his front wheel sideways, the wheels are turning, and it ejects him right into the barrier. I said to my wife, because I knew it was coming up, they were showing the famous clip. Before it happened, I told her, I said, hey, look at this. And she looked up and, you know, oh my God, he goes sideways into the barriers. Those things happen, and you can be in a SuperTuck, you can be on your time trial bike, you can be in just your regular drops and miss a hand, and that happens. Does that mean that you are more likely to cause a wreck if you're in the SuperTuck or not? I don't know. So then the thing that they've said is, this is an example. We are setting an example because the dangers posed to the general public out there racing by watching what the pros do are going to, it's going to disseminate down. You're already seeing this. It's happening everywhere. Everyone's doing the SuperTuck. Some overweight 200-pound guy is putting his big beer gut on the top tube, and it's dangerous. Okay, granted, that could be the case. So why don't we go through some examples of what happens in the World Tour that maybe you shouldn't have in real life, just riding your bike in a community, right? I mean, there's extreme weight loss. Some of these guys have the way that they're working. You know, Mike Creed has talked about this, where it's really an issue of trying to get as low and as lean as you can, and you're basically living like a teenage girl with, or boy, but we'll say girl at this point, or whatever you identify yourself as, that has a body complex and has an eating disorder, and yet and when you're talking with your bunch of cycling, it's like manly. Oh, I'm hungry, or. You know, so there's some body conscious issues that go into professional cycling. Is that an example that you should, you know, have to the younger? No, but it's professional. You know, maybe it goes all the way back to Charles Barkley, where he's like, "Don't emulate me. I'm just a stupid athlete." So, or John Kruk, "Hey, lady, I'm a baseball player. I'm not an athlete." Drug use. You look at all the videos back in the 1990s and you know, through the 2000s. The racing then was amazing, and these guys are all taking stuff. What did the UCI do? I mean, you know, they try to crack down, but I mean, these are things that the drug use and the influence on the younger class was bad. Closed roads. These guys ride through stop signs all the time. They ride through stop lights. They ride on the wrong side of the road. They go through roundabouts both ways. They're holding on to the cars. They hold on to cars like when they're getting the medical check. Cars are drafting them up. They're behind those. There are so many pushing riders, running them into barriers. We see this, Jakobsen, that happened. Yes, that's illegal. But you see riders pushing each other. You see, incidents with fans. There's so much. This is a professional sport. And I know we like to emulate that, but you are not going to stamp out, just because you make it illegal, you think that I'm not going to do it on my group ride? Huh? Illegality does not create morality. So we'll get into that. But anyway, I think the SuperTuck, I feel sad about it because the UCI has so many other things that they could be doing this whole time. They always do it so, look, in their defense, they always do things as the reactionary. They start to do things for, the Tour of Poland that wrecked. So now they're going to do barriers, something happens and then they react to it. So here they are taking, they're taking me directly on this. But Tyler, you're complaining about this. You haven't quoted any, you're saying that there's no wrecks to be had, but there's going to be, Tyler, and therefore we are being proactive. Could be. I just don't see that. I think if you've been using this for quite some time, that you would see more problems with it. And one of the biggest benefits you usually have about descending in this sense is if you're in the SuperTuck and you're really trying to do that, you're typically a solo rider out there doing that. So you're not going to cause an issue other than to yourself. So now, do you have agency? Do you have the ability to ride? And at what point are they going to start saying, regulating how fast you can descend? I don't know. I think UCI in this case, sock length, there's some other things here, even bike weight, some issues that I'm not super fond of, but they continue to do. And the SuperTuck, I'm just getting into it. Why you take it away from me now? Okay, the Australians, they're getting into their national championships, which is what they have at this time of year. They have their crits, they have their road race, and I don't know if you've seen this. This is Chris sent me a text last night about he said the Australians are now having their known Evenpole, which is Plap. Kid was off in he caught up to Richie Port on the famous Wollonga climb. He did well in that race, and then he was off in the break for the road championship. I think he won their time trial championships as well. So good for him. But we had the road race. Caden Groves, she wins the elite men's, or wins the men's elite criterium championship. We had, who won the road race? I'm sorry, my internet's going a little slower. Cameron Meyer wins the men's road race. Plap was out front for quite a while on that, and he ended up being brought back. So I think you're going to see some pretty cool and exciting things from that guy in a few years and weeks to come. Probably years. He's pretty young. As long as they don't burn out, that's the problem we see with some of this. With as being indicated with Tom Dumoulin, get a little burnout with some of these. Maybe you're coming in too young. I don't know if that's an issue with some of the younger riders. They're coming in so fit and exceptional right away that if they don't really have some guidance with this, maybe they're going to end up burning out. Sarah Roy, she I think won the women's road race title. So we've got this. So at least the Aussies are putting on some road racing. They're putting on some championships, and they are getting to some new jerseys. So it'll be Cameron Meyer. Good for you. He rides for the Bike Exchange. We're going to cut this thing fairly short today. I thought I'd read this since Curt's not responding. So this was a tweet, and it maybe we will show. Okay, so I'll replace this. We'll pretend that this is Curt talking. This is his dog, Doug. He's got laser eyes. And fun fact, this is from Tom Hardy. I don't know who that is, but sent to me by Curt Mills. Fun fact, Super Bowl edition, Ron Gronkowski plays sports ball for one of the big sports ball teams. He is the grandson of Ignatius Gronkowski, March 27, 1897 through September 1981. Who was an American professional cyclist who represented the United States at the 1924 Summer Olympics in Paris. He held 5 world records from the half, 3/4, 1.5, and 2-mile distances. His great-grandsons, multiple, include former NFL players Dan, Chris, Rob, and Glenn. In 2020, Rob came out of retirement to join Tom Brady via trade to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Gronk, unquotes, is also a derisive term for a turkey or disheveled cycling newbie. I personally had never heard of that. I always thought they were called Freds or Curts, but that's what we have. So there's your Super Bowl stat of the day. Who's going to win? We got Tom Brady, got Mahomes, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, what was it, 02, 03, when they were back in there against the lowly Oakland/LA/Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders, and handed them nicely because their coach, Callahan, did not know that he should change the playbook from the previous year when that coach was now the head coach of Tampa Bay. So we'll see who goes today. You know, I mean, look, Tom Brady, I'm not a fan of him, but when you have a guy that's his age and has been in so many Super Bowls, and then he decides to change teams when you're like, oh, well, it's the Patriots. They're just the dominant team. And then he goes over to them and they make the Super Bowl. Something to be said. Similar to what if Israel Startup Nation starts to destroy everyone? Is it going to be Chris Froome? You start to say, hey, maybe Chris Froome is the key linchpin in all this. I don't know, but that's what we have for that. So how about the rider of the week? I'm going to give it to Ganna. Very impressive. And by the way, we're going to do some things next time. I've got some issues that I want to walk through with the women's cycling calendar. I know President Biden had also indicated where I think, and I want to see how this indicates for cycling, but something where men who identify as women can now race or compete against them. You know, my stance, I'm pro-woman, so there I'm also pro-men not being able to beat down on women. Just to say, if you have a disagreement on that and you'd like to talk to me about it, I'd be glad to. As I indicated before, yeah, Bruce Jenner, been one of the best men, matter of fact, decathlon Olympic champion, been one of the best men competing out there, athletes. He decides to be a woman, and within a year of being a woman, he's declared as Woman of the Year. He is a better woman after being a woman for only a year than all you women. Does that seem right? It doesn't seem right to me. And it probably shouldn't seem right to you. Anyway, Between Two Wheels podcast. Folks, we are at the end of it. Hope everyone enjoyed their week. We had finally some nice weather this weekend. I'm doing this early in the day. Got the sunshine out. I'm going to go help my wife around the house, watch some sports ball, and hopefully we'll be able to get on the bike a little bit too. Racing, I know some guys went down to Florida. I think Tyler Pierce, vegan cyclist. I think Mark Tucker went down there. So we'll have to check in with them and see how things went for them. I'm imagining that they killed it. I think Mark Tucker, I saw where he was, I want to say top 6 or so. Guy can ride his bike pretty well. Okay, next week I'm still looking to get some more interviews in the hat in the queue. One guy, he said, hey, I'll check back with you next week. We were still going to have it planned up. He hasn't checked back with me. All right, everybody, take care. Remember, subscribe, YouTube, beat that 300th person. Take care.